when we moved to Columbus, Indiana, I said, I want to put in roots. I want to belong. I want to live in a town where people know me and where they know my children.
Welcome to Better Together podcast, produced and directed by our Hospice of South Central Indiana, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to making every moment count. We share real stories about hospice, palliative, and personal care provided in 22 counties all over South Central Indiana. I am your host and president, Steph Cain. If you are new to our podcast, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe, give us a like. We are better together. Well, today we get to welcome Sherry Stark with us. Hi, Sherry. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sherry Stark has dedicated her career to public service and community development in Columbus, Indiana, including 12 years as president and CEO of Heritage Fund, the Community Foundation of Bartholomew County, a former deputy mayor and longtime advocate for the arts. She's also served as a trustee of Columbus Regional Health, where she was first introduced to the importance of palliative care. In memory of her parents, Kirby and Caroline Risk, Sherry made a transformational gift to establish the James Kirby Risk Jr. and Caroline Robinson Risk Fund for palliative support at our hospice. She has 3 sons and 5 grandchildren, and I'm so grateful for you, Sherry, and our conversation. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Gosh, I would hardly know where to begin because I've lived many years. I grew up in Lafayette, Indiana, moved to Columbus in 1972.
Okay.
And so in many ways feel like I've been here forever. My father had started an electrical wholesale business in Lafayette, Indiana, and they were contemplating in the early 1970s opening a second location. And they identified Columbus as a very attractive, appealing place that would be a good place for a second location. Mm. So my first husband and I moved down here in 1972. And actually the first building that we used for our business was where the Cummins parking lot is downtown.
Is that right?
Park. And so it was great fun to move to Columbus. And at that time, it felt like everybody had a job at Cummins. And so when we would be introduced to people, they say, oh, and your husband works at Cummins. And we'd say, well, no, this new company and all. So it was kind of fun to make my way into the community as somebody who didn't have the Cummins background behind. It was great fun.
That's so great. I love it. Boy, you've seen some change roll through the city.
Oh my gosh, yes. But I'm still in the same house. And the house that we bought, I asked the realtor, are there any boys in this neighborhood? Because we had 3 little boys. And she laughed and said, absolutely. There are 4 behind you, 2 on the corner, 3 on the other corner. Riverview Acres, where I currently still live, is a great place to raise children.
Oh, and I met one of your sons. What a wonderful man. Yeah. I'll say I have been to your house.
Yes.
And it is a great neighborhood. So I remember, growing up, especially with the boys, my brother and his friends, you wouldn't see them all day until they were hungry.
Oh, absolutely. Kick the can.
That's right.
I even bought one of those triangles like on a dude ranch, and I'd go out and bang that triangle to call them in because they'd be out there until dark.
That's right. Okay.
And that was when we first moved in before Tipton Lakes. So we had many doctors living around our house. And so it was a fun community. And maybe that's how I first knew about the hospital. And eventually that led to hospice.
So awesome. How is it that you got involved serving in the ways that you did throughout Columbus in your career?
Well, Steph, my first husband was a Navy pilot, and we moved 13 times in our first 10 years of marriage.
Oh, okay.
And so when we moved to Columbus, Indiana, I said, I want to put in roots. I want to belong. I want to live in a town where people know me and where they know my children. I think raising boys, you want to have a lot of support to keep them on the straight and narrow. And so I wanted to put roots in and be known.
Yeah.
And when I'd walk down the street, the idea that somebody would say, hey, hi, Sherry, felt wonderful. That's what I wanted to have happen. So I got involved.
You sure did. And you're still involved. I know we a lifetime of service. We serve in Rotary together still.
That's right. Rotary is a great place to have some fun and sing some sillies.
That's right. So good. And let me ask, were you a past president also in Rotary?
Yes, I
Okay.
have been. And at that time, I wasn't that active in Rotary, but we were on a business trip and I got a call and the club said, "We're calling you, it's your turn." And so I stepped up. And actually, the club sent me to the International Rotary Convention in Seoul, South Korea.
Wow.
And that was a wonderful experience.
Yeah. You know, you bring something up. I think about personally serving and also working in a not-for-profit space here at our hospice.
Right.
Some of the best experiences I've received personally is serving and giving back. You do it not for that reason, but you end up receiving so many life lessons and beautiful things that you learn about, you know, people all over the world when you give back and serve.
Well, I totally agree that the rewards far, far outweigh the efforts. I mean, the effort really in many ways is a joy because it just feels right and good and appropriate to be trying to make this a better world.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was thinking about when I this morning I was preparing and I knew you and I were going to have a talk. Something my dad said, he used to say, "Steph, the most fun that you're ever going to have with money is giving it away." And he was right about that. And I want to say there's been a transformational gift that was made in honor of your parents, and you've been so generous to start a program as a pioneer, palliative care here in Columbus. And I wonder if you could share a little bit about how you learned of that need and a little bit about, you know, that transformational gift, the time that you pledged that and
Sure.
fulfilled that. Yeah.
Right. Actually, as you asked that question, I think I want to give you two different answers. So let's set aside for one moment just the words palliative care and talk about the giving. Because growing up, I'm not sure that thinking about handing money over was something that I focused on or recognized. What I saw was service and caring for others. And I can remember my father's business, Kirby Brisk's business. We would sit around the dining room table and stuff envelopes, sending out letters asking or informing customers and people that the Christmas gift the company was giving in their honor was to help produce students. And so I saw so many examples of how my parents, and particularly led by my father, did things to help others. So it was the giving of service and self that mattered to me. And so circle around to living here so many years and thinking so much about the impact my parents had on the community of Lafayette and on my life. I wanted to have people in this area know the names Kirby and Caroline Brisk, my parents, because they were now passed on and nobody knew them, but I wanted people to know they were special people. So the palliative care concept was first introduced as a word that I had never even heard.
Yeah.
And that was sitting in hospital trustee meetings. And I started hearing stories about palliative care. And then attending a session at a conference with hospital people, hearing physicians talk about the impact of palliative care. And that resonated with me. The idea that we could make life better for people, especially at fragile times with them. And the more we talked about that, the more I was wondering, why aren't we doing that here in Columbus? And as Columbus Regional Health began to understand it more, there was more movement towards it. And the more that happened, the more I thought, this fits, this makes sense. This is exactly what my parents were teaching me to help others in the ways they need. And so that's what led me to say, I am so grateful and so fortunate that I have the capacity to make a really big gift if I really, really want to and think it really is the right place. And I thought, palliative care, it is the one that hits all the check marks for me about a way to honor my parents in a way that they, smiling down from wherever they are, would say, well done, Sherry.
Well done, yeah. You know, in palliative care, it's it's beautiful that we take care of the whole family. We take care of the patient, but the whole family
Right.
unit, and community around them. And so it's a perfect gift. Yeah. Thank you for that. And I think when I was we were visiting and I was in your home, you were telling me this story about your parents in the holiday time.
My father always wanted to include other people, and sometimes it was in crazy ways. For example, in Lafayette, Indiana, one night he and my mother were in the car, and they drove to a friend's house and said, "Hop in, we're going to take a ride." And the other couple said, "Well, we're in our pajamas already," but they said, "Put on your robes and get in the car." This is in Lafayette, Indiana. They started driving. My father drove them to Detroit, Michigan to have breakfast with his cousin. And then they turned around and drove back.
I love it. I love it.
So he loved to take people along and loved to have adventures. We had Cuban families who lived with us in our home.
Oh, wow.
We had international students from Purdue who lived with us, one from Hawaii, one from Mexico.
Wow. And there are so many memories, I'm sure, that those families, extended families that, you serve that way, they have, and they talk around their dinner tables.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Very much extended families. We all stayed in touch and continue to.
Now, you were telling me, I think, there were foster children in your family. Is that right?
The foster children, I give all the credit to my husband, David Teedy, about that.
Okay.
He and his first wife, who unfortunately did pass on, but
Mm-hmm.
he and his wife took care of mostly troubled adolescent boys.
Mm-hmm.
And over their years, they had over 22 different young people living with them. And one of the beautiful discoveries that David Teedy, my husband, and I have made now is reconnecting with one of those foster sons who had lived with David for his first 3 or 4 years of life.
Mm.
And Ray and his wife and 2 little children now have become part of our family again, and we love that.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so good. Our mission to make every moment count for
Right.
palliative patients comes from a place of, what matters most to that family, what matters most to that patient. Today, we're asking that question and meeting people right where they are.
Yes.
And see what happens. Just like the story with your dad,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Come on, let's get in the car, and the stories and the impact that has. What would you say to someone who wants to serve or give back, but they just don't know where to start?
I think there would be 2 different paths. If for a person who really feels like he or she hasn't done that before, think about what you enjoy doing, what feels comfortable to you, and find ways that you can do that make something a little better. Maybe a place, maybe a club, maybe a neighbor, maybe a child. Or if you think you don't know how you could help, then try to pick a way that feels kind of uncomfortable and scary to you and say, I'm just going to take at least one step in this direction, and maybe I'll find a new skill or a new talent and make life better for somebody along the way.
Oh, good. Would you share a time where maybe you were scared and you stepped out and you did something that you hadn't done before?
Well, let me think. My first paying job here in Columbus was at IUPUC, and it was putting together the non-credit classes. And we decided that we needed to have a class on parliamentary procedure. I had never taught such a class, but I was the instructor for that.
I love it.
And it turned out to be a lot of fun, and I think the students had fun. I certainly had fun with it.
Good.
But it was stepping off the diving board just a little higher than I normally would plan to do. But, if you can read and if you can think, and if you're a little quick on your feet, you can kind of fake anything.
Such good advice. Such good advice. And that was before OpenAI, ChatGPT, where you can plug it in.
My gosh,
the whole lesson plan.
There was no help. There was no help.
That's right. I love that example because there are so many times where I think fear might hold us back from serving somebody a little differently. Maybe, going into a situation you've never been before. Maybe it's volunteering or, supporting philanthropically or doing something you don't know where to start. But just start. Just start small. It doesn't have to be gigantic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So good. Well, if I were to ask you, Sherry, What matters most to you today?
That's a really good question. At this point in my life, I'm looking back on being so grateful for such rich, diverse opportunities and wonderful, wonderful experiences. And watching my children, finally, a grandchild got married several weeks ago. Finally, we had a wedding. So, all of my peer group have great grandchildren. And I did show one of my granddaughters a Christmas card picture from a friend. This friend, Anne, had 6 great-grandchildren in her picture Christmas card. And I showed my granddaughter and said, no pressure, but when do I get great-grandchildren? So, I'm at a point in my life where some of my peers are pulling back and slowing down. And certainly I realize physically, things get a little bit more challenging. But I want to be living as fully and richly as possible every moment of my life. And so I'm at an interesting time learning what does that mean and how do I do it.
Mm-hmm. One of my friends said to me, Steph, you have no idea the joy of grandchildren. The granddaughter will look right at him and say, I'll give you anything.
That's right.
So, well, this has been wonderful. This is Better Together, a podcast dedicated to making every moment count. Thank you for listening. Please like us and share this episode on your social media channels. If you have a question and you'd like to learn more about a specific topic, you can find us at ourhospice.org or call 812-314-8083. Until next time, remember that we are better together, making every single moment count.